A mom in Laval is taking the Quebec government to court over Bill 96. Elena Montecalvo says her son, who is autistic, has been denied certain services based on language. She is one of 6 people who are taking the government to court. And Elena is on the line. Elena, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So tell our listeners, how has Bill 96 impacted your family?
Well, in December 2022, my son was going through a very difficult time. He's always struggled with emotional regulation and aggression due in part to his autism. And at that time, we were really in a bad place. He was having 2 to 3 violent meltdowns a day. And his psychiatrist was unable to do more than, she was treating us as best she could, but she was out of options, and she decided that we were at a point where we needed him to be admitted into a psychiatric ward where he could be taken off of his antipsychotic medication under medical supervision. And in the Montreal area, there's only one hospital that offers that kind of service, and it's L'Hôpital Rivière-des-Prairies. So although it was a very difficult decision for a mom, I did sign the papers to have him admitted, and we were refused. They stated that the basis of the refusal was the fact that my son goes to an English school. And the Hôpital Rivière-des-Prairies, according to the law, is un corridor de services pour des francophones. So actually the scolarity was the issue. The fact that he goes to an English school, our corridor of services, as determined by the law, would have been the Douglas Hospital or the Montreal Children's. The Douglas Hospital, though, doesn't admit children, and the Montreal Children's Hospital wouldn't admit someone with my son's profile in their psychiatric ward. So even though we claimed this, my son's psychiatrist did, contest their decision, and they stood by it. They said that the law determined that going to an English school, our corridor of services, and did not include L'Hôpital Rivière-des-Prairies, which I repeat was the only hospital that offered the services he needed.
And is this so? Did the hospital say, or have you come to find out that there's something in Bill 96 that changed how they would react in this situation, or would this have happened prior to Bill 96? Would this have happened under the old Bill 101?
That's a good question. Actually, I didn't get a very clear answer on that point. I wasn't told if it was a recent change in the corridor of services, as they called it, but based on my psychiatrist's reaction and the social worker and everyone who was trying to advocate for us, it was new.
So what do they expect you to do for your son and for your family? What do they expect you to do if it sounds like you have 0 options available?
I was given 0 options.
So what are you doing?
I was basically told, I'm sorry, good luck.
And how's the good luck treating you? How's that gone? How are you handling this?
It was rough, very rough. My son's psychiatrist was very supportive, and I have a very supportive family, and we kind of just hunkered down and made it through. Things are easier with my son now, and now that kind of the dust is settled is when I'm really suffering with my mental health. I think anyone who's been in any kind of crisis situation knows that the adrenaline takes over and you just get through it. And once you did get through it, you look back and you're not even sure how you did. And I kind of crumbled after the fact.
We're with Elena Montecalvo, one of 6 people who are taking the Quebec government to court over Bill 96. Elena, I know. Lead plaintiff is in this lawsuit is the task force on linguistic policy.
Yes.
And Andrew Cadell, of course, the president of that task force, on the show quite a bit. How did you get involved in this lawsuit? When did you say, I need to go to court? And how did you get on board this vehicle of this lawsuit with 5 others?
So everyone in my surroundings was kind of telling me, you need to take this to the media, you need to fight this, you need to take this to court. And I was just in such despair at the time that I didn't even have the strength. I just kind of threw my hands up in the air. I'm like, I can't fight a single fight anymore. I've been fighting for services for my son for so many years. But it did air on the news at the time in December 2022. And Andrew Cadell actually reached out to me. I'm a big believer in the universe sending signs. And so when he reached out to me and told me about the task force and told me, that I could be part of this case and and there wouldn't be a financial burden on my family, then I said, well, this is what I'm meant to do, because even though it might not help my son no longer needs the services. But it's just absolutely unacceptable that any other family has to go through what my family went through. And that's why I'm part of the case. And anyone who's interested in more information can go to www.thetaskforce.ca to support the cause or be informed. There's lots of information there, and there's also a button where you can donate. So that way, this bill is funded by the task force. The court case is funded by the task force, because I wouldn't have had the funds to take this to court myself to fight for my son's rights.
Elena, the others that are involved in this lawsuit, the 5 others, have you had an opportunity to speak with them, talk to them? Do you know a bit about, are their stories similar to yours?
I haven't spoken to them personally. Some of them aren't comfortable coming forward. I think there were some anonymous cases, if I'm not mistaken, in the case of a minor. But from what I've heard, they were similar in the sense that essential services were denied based on language.
And, you've put yourself out there, right? And you mentioned some people are not, or have concerns about putting themselves out there publicly.
Yes.
Talk to me about that aspect, why, you'd made that decision.
Long time ago, when I was kind of struggling with my son's diagnosis, and I realized a long time ago that I was meant to be an advocate. I was meant to advocate for him, because he's unable to advocate for himself. And I kind of just jumped on this train where I found this voice, and I believe that I meant to use it for the greater good. And that's what I'm doing here with the task force.
Tell me about how your son is doing now, and how, I hope you did get the help, I guess, or how did you get the help that you needed?
We got help in the sense of we got a special educator and we got a social worker for our family. At the time of the major crisis, we didn't have any. We were on a wait list. And since then, we have been assigned, like I said, these caseworkers from the CRDI, so they're government funded, in French. But my family is bilingual, so we make it work.
And that's the thing, right? I think one of the things you tried to bend over backwards here, right? When you were trying to get help at the hospital, right? At the Rivière de Prairie Hospital, you were bending over backwards to make it work, right?
Yeah, I told them, although my son only speaks English, he has a language delay. Even his English is minimal. I said, we're a bilingual family, and we can arrange for someone to always be present to translate. Language has never been an issue. I speak 4 languages. I've never been denied anything, or in any kind of situation, language has never been a barrier until they made it one.
Have there been any other discussions with the hospital? Has the hospital reached out since that time? No. Elena, listen, your story is resonating with our listeners who are hearing your story, and they're upset for you, right? How's the community support been for you?
Community support I'm very blessed, very, very supportive. And, everyone asks what they can do. And besides supporting the task force, there's not much else that can be done. I mean, my family is my greatest support, and they help me day to day. But if anyone in the public wants to know more or support families like mine, it would be, listening to advocates like me and concretely joining the task force and seeing what can be done there for Bill 96.
What was that? You mentioned the website for the task force. So what was that again?
So it's www.thetaskforce.ca.
Thetaskforce.ca. Elena, listen, thank you so much for joining us and telling us your story. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Elena Montecalvo right there, one of 6 people taking the Quebec government to court over Bill 96.